Today on the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, we're in Greenville, Ohio, and we've got the Ion Camera Unlimited Superstock tractors for the first time this year. Last year, the Keeners dominated the class with the Bambi, taking home the championship. Past champion Neil Gettiner's geared up to the challenge for the title after an off year in 2013. Jeff Hurt's been perfecting his V8 experiment, and he's also hungry to get back in the chase. Stay tuned for the alcohol supercharged action.
Tractor pulling. The ultimate test of power. Purpose-built vehicles create thousands of horsepower using turbos and superchargers, alcohol fuel, and multi-engine configurations to see who can pull the farthest. A sled weighing thousands of pounds is used to stop the pulling vehicles. A moving weight box progressively adds resistance to end the run. The sled is customized for classes ranging from customized farm tractors to multi-engine modifieds. Teams spend countless hours preparing their machines for competition. Thousands of dollars are spent traveling to events across 10 states, maximizing power and repairing broken parts. The season is long, and the competitors have to maintain focus every pull to compete for a class championship. This is Tractor Pulling with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and hang on, we're about to have some fun. Thanks for joining us here at the Ford Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. We're in Greenville, Ohio at Darke County Fairgrounds, and we will feature the Unlimited Superstock tractors here today. It is the second event for them on the 2014 tour. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears to call the action for you. We'll also bring in the super modified 4x4 trucks, a regional class here, but draws a lot of interest, something we've not had on the show before, Leslie.
And they are just an amazing class. Imagine taking an engine out of a super modified two-wheel drive truck and putting it in that four-wheel drive truck, and that's what you end up with. Lots of blown horsepower going and digging in on all four corners.
So, and of course, the Unlimited Superstock tractors are just loaded with horsepower and torque. Here's a look at the points after the first event. Neil Gettiner, once again, looking for a championship.
2 years ago, Neil was just unstoppable and looking to hit that stride once again. They just battled gremlins all last year and couldn't figure out that tractor. But at Wilmington, Ohio, the first event of the year, they really figured it out and came home with the W.
Here's another guy that did a lot of testing and tuning over the past couple of years, but Jeff Hurt seems to have a handle on it so far this year. Running Bear is the name of the tractor, and some substantial changes to that one as he really dug in once they made the transfer to the V8.
And he's spent a lot of time over the winter kind of trying to figure out the V8s and dynoing them and trying to make sure that they can be solid on the track and really work out for him.
Running Bear puts a 3:17 and 73 up on the board. That is a big number for sure, and I'm quite certain he'll hang on to that one. Really good look there as the tires were kind of dirty at the start of that to watch that open diff work in the back. Both rear tires spinning at different speeds.
And he gets the front end up early, but you can see the back end just wiggling and waddling back and forth. So really not hooked up solid. Those tires really fighting on each side with that open rear end to try to gain traction on this track. And the track could prove to be a little bit tricky as there was a lot of rain in the days before leading up to this event.
And this is our running order here this afternoon. John Evans will be up next, and then the cash and the trash. Chris Shoemaker, awesome name for that tractor there. Joe Kwiatkowski, always keep your eyes on him, but the entire field loaded here in a solid big field of Unlimited Superstockers.
And some new guys coming to play on the Champions Tour this year as well, as we'll see Mike Noviter with two tractors down towards the end of the class. But now we're going to bring back John Evans in the Big Toy 2, the team from Wilmington, Ohio, backed by Larry Roberts. Making a lot of local pulls here in the state of Ohio, not venturing out much farther than that, but they do love the tracks here in Ohio. It's close by, and of course, they're true competitors.
When he got way over there by the sideline, you can watch a tractor. You can see the tracks back behind him there, and in fact, he is going to get disqualified here for going out of bounds. Again, look at that open diff working.
And you can see just how hard the right rear tire was spinning. The left one hadn't even really started to spin at all. Just really catching fire, moving off to that right side of the track, does everything he can to bring it back around. But sometimes when you're creating, I don't know, upwards of 3,500 to 4,000 horsepower, those individual rear brakes just aren't going to bring you back around.
And as you can see there, the right rear tire was spinning. In other words, it had no grip. The left rear tire was getting grip and eventually drove the tractor off to the left side.
Terry Boyd in the pits caught up with Chris Shoemaker earlier today.
Cash in the trash, a brand new tractor. It's only the second time out. Chris Shoemaker's the pilot. You got a tall order tonight, my friend.
Yeah, you know, last weekend in Wilmington we ran pretty good. We was a little nose heavy, but hopefully tonight we're close to home, about 18 miles, so hopefully we'll do good here close to home.
Since you're so close to home, you can probably have a big fan club in the stands. How many people came out to see you tonight?
Well, I'm not for sure. I guess we'll see.
You know, I got to tell you what, when you lose count of how many people are coming, that's rock star status. You're looking at it right there.
And boy, it really is tough for guys to pull close to their hometown, and especially with Shoemaker here with a new piece on the track. You know, they say it takes about a year to kind of shake down a machine to get it running exactly right and to figure everything out, but it looks like he's got it right off the bat here tonight.
Boy, he carried the front end very nicely. It's only going to be 302.80, so well short of what we just saw Jeff Hurt do, which kind of disturbs me a bit. I wonder if he'll be able to hang on because there's some really good tractors back in the field. But boy, it really looked good.
Front end up early, but then towards the end of the run, once that big weight transfer box topped off, you can see that it really started to lug on the tractor, pulled that front end down, and he didn't have that perfect positioning of weight in order to get all that weight into the rear tires to help him hook up hard to the track.
We were talking about pulling in your hometown. It's one of those bittersweet deals as we watch the next tractor pull up here, taking care of business, driven by Joe Kwiatkowski. And yeah, it's one of those things where you have all your friends here and you want to do well for all your friends, but if you don't do well, it's a bitter pill to swallow. If you do well, it's pretty sweet. It makes it even better.
It's just a huge jinx for these guys, and they'll tell you sometimes it's just better not to invite anyone at all.
Just dancing and bouncing the front end of that John Deere up and off the ground there for Joe Kwiatkowski. 3:01 and 35 will stand in third place right now, and you'd have to say that he kind of missed it without carrying that front end nice and smoothly out there.
And just one of the variables that our unlimited superstock competitors have to contend with is that weight that they put on the front of the tractor. And so they've really got to be aware of where they put those 100-pound weights.
Coming out of the Keener stables is the Triple X, always a threat to win one of these events when they show up. We had a chance to speak with Billy a little bit earlier about why they stay in the sport.
It's just that couple seconds of that adrenaline rush that you get when that tractor sitting on the line and the RPMs and the motors sitting there shaking in front of you, and when it takes off and sets in and makes a nice pull, you get at the end of the track and you got that adrenaline rush, and then you realize why you just put in all the hours to drive and all the hours to work. And of course, if you're successful at the pole or successful in the end of the year points run, you know, you look back at the year and you realize why you did it all, and it's worth every second of the work that you do. The whole part before your pole where you're planning out where you're going to spot the sled, where you're going to put your weights, where you're going to set your tires at, what gear you're going to run, how do you want to drive it, all that plays into the competitive level. That really makes you think about it. It's kind of like a chess game in a sense. You know, whoever plays their moves right and makes the best moves is going to win the pole in the end.
They're competitors. Bottom line is, you know, I mean, they want to get out here and they want to compete. They want to test their skills against the best in the business, and that's exactly what they're doing here.
Beautiful lift on that front end by Keener right off the line.
Yeah, man, it really carried the nose well, but again, the distance is going to be a little bit short here. 297 and 62, making that pull by Jeff Hurt look extraordinary. I mean, nobody within 15 feet of Jeff Hurt so far, and this one carried the front end. I mean, if you watched it, you would say textbook. Mark Metzger coming up next out of Shelby, Ohio. We are covering the unlimited superstock category, and they've just indicated to him that The course is green.
The Metzger name may sound familiar because we're all familiar with Super Joe Metzger that drives one of the hot rod semis. Well, it's all in the family here. This is his brother.
On the alcoholic harvester, dancing left to right, unloading the rear tires from side to side, and unfortunately, it's going to hurt his distance significantly.
And this is a new tractor to the competition with the Pro Pulling League Champions Tour. So just an Ohio guy, usually runs the Ohio circuit, but with a pull this close, wanted to come on out.
Jeff Hodem, another tough competitor out here, and Terry Boyd has some more.
Jeff Hodem picked up a brand new sponsor in the offseason with Napa Auto Parts. Of course, Napa Auto Parts, where you can find a full selection of Carlisle tools. Those would have came in handy in 2013. He had a litany of mechanical problems. He said he's figured them all out. And in 2014, he will be in the hunt for the championship.
Always good to pick up another sponsor, of course. Thanks a lot, Terry. Of course, our leader is Jeff Hurd at 3:17 and 73. And then closest to him is Chris Shoemaker with 3:02 and 80.
And Jeff Hodem's just hoping that after last season that he can keep the tractor in one piece and drive it into the trailer, because he didn't get to do that very often in 2013.
Yeah, it is a good feeling to just complete some pulls once you get behind the wheel and behind the 8-ball in some of those situations. It just seems like it'll keep kicking you in the head here, and Hodem's going to put 299 and 57 up on the board. That gets him into the top 5.
On board on the weight box on the transfer sled, and you can see just how fast it moves up 8 of those suitcase weights that weigh 2,000 pounds each inside of that box. So you're talking about an additional 16,000 pounds on the sled that already weighs 36,000 pounds out there. So 52,000 pounds on the starting line, going to end up a little bit over 200,000 pounds of rolling weight at the end of the track.
Well, the Bargee family loves tractor pulling for sure, but they decided to also jump into the promoter side of it with this particular event. But it's not just promoting a tractor pull. This one has a special meaning, and it's a good cause. He makes a great point for sure. I mean, these guys are competitors, and it is that pressure that they live for at some level. So they took on a lot of work, and now they're back in the game, not only promoting, but also pulling.
And this tractor has made a complete change over the course of the winter, and they've got a new fuel system on it, and they've made so many changes just to try to make sure that they can make it down the track. But unfortunately, it looks like today a little bit off on their settings. And you know, that's just got to be heartbreaking for the Bargee camp, being so close to home and spending so much time over the winter trying to get the dad's toy running and down the track making a full pass.
Yeah, and the fact that it was so far off, it's going to be something obvious, so at least they'll be able to detect what that is and quite possibly even get it back out of here. He did not go past 100 feet, so if they can get it fixed, they can put him back in line.
Crash has got more information on Jeff Hurd in the fast lane.
Guys, check out this tractor. Fast lane, new wrap this year, refurbished a little bit. And as Jeff Hurd has told us, of course, the name comes after his 2-year-old son, Lane. Jeff has already run with Running Bear, and what he learned to apply to fast lane is that they're going to turn up the motor quite a bit. The track's getting real sticky out there, and they're going to hope to keep the nose down and even beat Running Bear, currently first in line.
Seasoned eyes for sure, the former champion side of this class. We'll find out if his change pays off.
When you just can't get it to go, there's got to be something small fighting that tractor, because he had it on a decent run at Wilmington just 1 week ago, and it stopped abruptly. It does the same thing to him here today, so he'll have a little work to do this afternoon before they hook tomorrow.
Unfortunately, a tough run for Jeff Hurd there, but his previous run keeps him up in the lead. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back here at Darke County Fairgrounds in Greenville, Ohio, with a Ford Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. Next up will be the Minneapolis Moline, driven by Lyle Hull. We'll find out if he has anything for Jeff Hurd, but first, let's check in with Terry Boyd.
Lyle Hull has been very busy back here in the pit area. He's been doing a pretty fancy two-stepping from the front of the tractor to the back and the back to the front, all the while moving weights. I asked him why he was working so hard. He said, well, we got 2 different tracks. It's sticky in a good way off the launch, sticky in a bad way at the top end of the track. He said it really doesn't matter. No matter how much you think you have it figured out tonight, it's all going to be about luck.
I've got to tell you, it seems as though these guys think that there's some grip inside of this track. So if they can nail the setup, my guess is there's something there.
And it looks like Lyle's got a full rack on the front of that mini mow out there. So it doesn't look like he moved too many weights back. I don't see any on the belly bar except for one.
Boy, he hangs the front end out there, had some good wheel speed right at the very beginning, and look at this number. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new leader, 321.04. He comes out here and beats up on Jeff Hurt, who had already killed the class.
And you can see right on the front that one of those weights is missing on the left side of the tractor, and it looks like he took that, put it on the belly bar. What a great move here by the wily veteran Lyle Hall, as he just shoots out to the end. It's a super fast pass, keeps the front end up almost the entire way, which some of our other tractors were not able to do. About the 250 mark, the front end was starting to come down and bounce a lot. By moving just that little bit of weight, he received that perfect transfer into the rear tires, and man, does he get it done.
We're looking at him bounce around inside that thing as well. It was a fairly violent ride. What'll happen now is the veterans back inside of the category that have not gone yet, they will watch and learn from that one. So I won't be surprised to see some more tractors out there at the end.
And just like I'm counting weights here in the booth on the front of the tractors, those guys back in the staging lanes, they're doing the exact same thing.
Well, don't let the name of that tractor fool you, because that one can get it done. We had a chance to speak with Dwayne Keener a little bit earlier about what the championship meant to him.
It was just something that you can't imagine. That tractor went into first place on the first pull, and it never came out of first place. It was just a season that you could dream of, but you never would think would happen. And especially with that tractor, it's just tractor that Brett Long built the motor for. There's nothing added extra to it. It's a kind of a plain Jane Brett Long motor.
And what he's talking about there is the 504 cubic inch Brent Long motor out there that they do some modifications to. It is an inline six, so although we've seen Jeff Hurt have a lot of success with the V8s finally figuring those out, there's still a lot of guys that can get it done with the inline six.
Out of Ashland, Ohio, and man, he really carried the front end very, very high there for a bit. And when it goes too high like that, of course, it changes the height of the hitch in the back. It unloads the rear tires as well. It'll actually that sled will start lifting up on the tractor and take some grip away. And unfortunately, his distance again will reflect that.
He goes 3:02 and 72, and to just show you how competitive the field is, we had Cash in the Trash out there at 3:02 and 80, so just 0.08 of a foot between these vehicles. Really doing a lot of steering to try to bring it back around to the center, but just too much power in the track, and it stays over to the left side.
Yeah, I mean, it brought him all the way across the track. And again, a pretty violent ride here. And yeah, these guys are really struggling. I mean, these are some talented pullers, and they're all trying to guess at what is going to get them out there at the end. Coming out of Shelbyville, Missouri is Mike Nobinger. He is up next with the Dominator Deer, and Crash Gladys spoke with him.
Well, guys, to say Mike Nobinger is a little busy this weekend would be a little bit of an understatement. Not only is he driving 2 tractors in the Ion Camera Unlimited Superstock class, they don't even match. One is a John Deere, one is a Massey Ferguson. How do you wrap your head around driving 2 tractors that, well, they don't really sound the same or operate the same?
They both have John Deere motors. One of them, the Massey, has a bigger cubic inch John Deere motor, 3 bigger chargers. More weight on the front and a couple gears faster, and the John Deere has a smaller cubic inch motor with smaller chargers and slower, excuse me.
Well, let's face it though, you farm your full-time job with John Deere's, so you obviously prefer those, right?
Yeah, we like John Deere's, but we also like Massey Ferguson's. We have a couple old ones on the farm for odd jobs, and we do have some Case IH 4-wheel drives too.
So lots of variety in the Nobinger camp, but don't let this guy fool you. This is his first year on the Champions Tour, but he's from Missouri, and we used to do a pull out there in Macon, Missouri, and he used to just kind of casually show up for one night of pulling out there, and he would really put one on the guys on the Champions Tour. So we're glad to have a tough competitor like Mike out here on the circuit.
And once again, carrying that front end way up in the air. The fans love the way it looks. 3:14 and 60, a really decent distance there. Good enough to enter the top 3.
And he fights it right off the line to try to keep it in the center of the track. He's working the steering wheel, he's working the brakes, but the tracks of the sled really tell the tale. And it's kind of one of those things where he could have maybe moved up past Jeff Hurt and running bare if he would have been able to keep it straight down the track instead of just kind of wiggling and wobbling from side to side.
All right, we're going to take you back to Wilmington and show you how the Lessons Learned tractor got it done. Bud Gettner can certainly put on a show, and when this tractor gets on a roll like we saw a couple of years ago, it is all but unstoppable.
And such a great run for the Gettner camp to finally make a full, complete, good, solid pass and not have any mechanical breakage of any kind. That really kind of sets the tone for your season, especially after you work so hard in the shop and, you know, you put in all the time to check all the nuts and bolts and to make sure that everything is ready for the upcoming season. After fighting the way they did in 2013 to just make it down the track without breakage, that had to feel so good.
Trying to start a streak here and get back-to-back wins. It's not going to happen, but he does sneak into the top 3 at 3:15 and 28. So another good effort for him. And in terms of chasing the championship, that's what you want to do. Try to stay inside of that top 3, that top 5.
All about consistency here for these unlimited super stockers. Really, really hard jab on the brake right there as he tries to bring it back around to the center. And this track is really fighting these unlimited super stock tractors. You can see just how busy Bud Gettner is in the cockpit, trying to keep track of everything, working the brakes with his feet, really working the steering wheel hard, right hand full on the throttle.
So the top 3 has changed a bit. Lyle Hull now your leader, Hurt in second, and Bud Gettner just entered the top 3. And once again, welcome back here to the Ford Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Wyotech. We're here in Greenville, Ohio, and up next out of Wilmington, Ohio, is the big toy. This is Jason Evans, and again, anytime these guys hook to the sled, they are a threat to win.
And they're not running for the points this season, but they still have that drive and that competitive edge that they really want to blow everybody's doors off and win when they come out to an event.
Well, I think blow everybody's doors off is a great line because that's exactly what he just did. If they didn't throw the red flag, he might still be going. Look at that distance, 3:47. Are you kidding me?
Just check out how much ground speed he has when he leaves the line. He lifts the front end nice, 12 to 14 inches, just dangling, dancing on top of the dirt, and just keeps on rolling. You can see he kind of wobbles a little bit and goes through some humps where everybody else kind of stopped, where they were kind of burning in their tires, but he just sails right on past that. 26 feet on some of the best pullers in the country. That is just absolutely unheard of. He stuck it for sure. I'd have to think a completely different gear than what everybody else used, and he just took a shot and went for it, and it paid off. Well, Mike Nobinger is going to have a tough act to follow here in the Massey Ferguson. And he did build this tractor in 2012, but only put 6 passes on it last season. So it's pretty much still a brand new machine.
A lot of weight up there on the nose, and I think he had some good grip on that one, but it sounded like the sled just tugged it down. Tough break, of course, but let's check in with Crash Gladys. She's with 3rd place. That is Jeff Hurt with a solid finish here today.
Sometimes going first out has its advantages, and for Jeff Hurt, a podium is the advantage that came out of going first, because that's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not. We didn't know what to expect after all this rain here and that. And, I'm just very pleased with the whole crew and that. We got the tractor down the track, made a respectable run for when we ran. Sure like to run at the end there, but hey, we'll take a third in this group any day.
And there's a look at the final order with Jason Evans on top, followed by Lyle Hall and Jeff Hurt. All rounding it out in the top 5 will be Bud Gettner and Mike Novinger. Once again, let's go back down to the podium.
Lyle Hall just came up to me and said, "That's the most fun I've had maybe in my whole life." Why?
Well, it was a real fast fun, and we really haven't been doing that good lately, and it was really good to get out and hammer down a real good run.
Well, I noticed, and I talked about it, that you were doing a little Texas two-step. You two-step to the front, take a weight to the back. You'd sit down, watch your run, then take that weight from the back to the front. Is the track just that tricky tonight?
Now, the track was getting better as the show went along. I was trying to compensate for that.
Well, it looks like you did a pretty good job tonight.
Yeah, it worked real good.
So excellent efforts out of Jeff Hurt and Neil Gettinger this weekend, and last put them at the top of the points hunt. And Aaron Hall, or Lyle Hall, who did the driving tonight in the MMG 1000, rounding out the top 3. Let's head back to the podium for our winner.
Guys, you saw it. Big Toy went 26 feet farther than anybody else. What in the heck did you know that nobody else had?
I just wanted to put on a good show for these fans out here. We got a little trick up our sleeve with the old Big Toy. It'll rock and roll.
What is that trick? Come on, nobody's watching. It's just you and I.
I don't know. Go ask Neil Gettinger. He might tell you.
No, I'm asking you.
This is a mechanic. My dad, he turns his wrenches and makes that tractor go. So all I do is sit in the seat and hit that throttle and let out on the clutch, and there we go.
Well, Crash tried 3 different times, but she could probably try 20 more times and still not get that answer. Stay with us. When we come back, we're not finished yet. We have the super modified 4x4 trucks. The first time we've ever featured them here on the show.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Speedco Truck Lube and Tires. Built for speed, staffed for quality, delivering world-class value. Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. And by Wyotech. Enroll today. Turn pro at Wyotech.
Welcome back to the Ford Pro Pulling Nationals, and no better truck to kick it off with in this class than a Ford. Bright yellow here, but as you remember, I talked about the super modified 4-wheel drive trucks that we had here. Typically, the 4-wheel drive trucks that we cover on this show are normally aspirated. As you can see here, that one's anything but.
And these are just amazing machines. You put that big blower right on top and you supercharge that engine and you put all the power to the ground. Now, they are a little bit smaller than what we see in our super modified 2-wheel drives as far as their engine combinations are concerned, but they're still pushing out some major horsepower here. Joey Barnett finished 5th at last weekend's event there in Dover, Ohio, and was in the top 10 last year in points. So he's a pretty tough competitor. Our official's going to take a look at that run, going 267 and change, and decide that they're going to make some adjustments here to our sled setting because they want to make sure that they get him down the track closer to that 300-foot mark of the traditional full pull.
There's a look at the pulling order for the category, and as you talked about, the engines here, they're only allowed 500 cubic inches, if you can say only. Still a pretty good sized power plant for sure, and a very common number for a supercharged program. But the blowers on these things will give them a lot of horsepower. And there's a look at Christy Chastain, and Christy really runs this show out here. She is phenomenal. I don't know that anybody works any harder than Christy, and actually John Mearstein in there as well. So those two people really head up this entire series, and they do an awesome job at it. We're thankful they're with us as we watch the after-hours machine going old school.
And I love the ingenuity here on the weight boxes. You can see the big bow tie out front. Just over a third, well, I shouldn't say over a third, just about a third of the weight of the entire truck of that 6,200 pounds is out in that weight box. John
Grau in the after-hours truck will get a distance of 371. He will be the leader.
Well, and that's a good measuring stick here for our officials to set the sled. They really made some good adjustments here to get this class started right. And if I'm him, I'm keeping that hook, especially after seeing the Bad Habit go 267 before they made those changes.
And an old step-side Chevrolet. It's called the Tasmanian Devil. Harmon Zink back behind the wheel. Always my favorite cartoon character when I was a younger kid.
way back in the day?
Yeah, back in the Tasmanian Devil day. Come on.
Well, and I love the step side trucks, and in this class you see lots of old school bodies and just the really classic square bodies out here that they turn into these high performance machines. Just great stuff.
The Tasmanian Devil doing a solid job here as well. 394, takes over the lead by less than 3 inches.
And you can see they use those front drive tires that are offset just like our regular naturally aspirated four-wheel drive trucks to dig in. And look how hard the rear end of that truck is digging in, especially when that weight box comes up on the sled to propel the vehicle down the track.
Well, that thing is just absolutely gorgeous as well. And these trucks are so beautiful. So much work going into them. The only place you'll find this category, by the way, is here in Ohio.
Very cool to feature them here on our show today. And you can see just how light the rear ends of those machines are there as we see Kenny Lucas in the fantasy truck, part of a team of trucks out here in this category. And Terry caught up with them before the pull today.
Kenny Lucas is going to be driving the fantasy tonight. You're part of the team with Carl and Don Odell. How much sharing of information do you guys do?
We share information on everything. Both trucks are set up very similar, engine and drivetrain wise. So what we learn from one truck, hopefully we'll tie into and do better with the second one.
So it doesn't matter as long as the team wins.
Yep, it's all about the teamwork.
It's interesting also, you see that Kenny Lucas is actually sitting in the traditional driver's position in the truck. Many of the competitors in this category, actually the first few that we've seen, actually sit in the middle. They say they like to put themselves over to that left-hand side so that they can see around the injector hat and maybe have a little bit better sight line out on the track.
And something breaks on the fantasy truck. What a shame. Such a beautiful looking Chevrolet as well. Kind of like what you were talking about there as well, Leslie. I mean, absolutely, it's going to help the vision. Sit off to the side and see around that bug catcher. As we continue on with another Chevy, this one a good bit newer.
David Pierce and the Stormer, and also with moving the seat position out of the center, you're not actually sitting on the drive line too. And for some of the competitors, that's, you know, a little bit of a concern, although there is a ton of safety equipment in there to help prevent any accidents or injuries. They just like to be off to the side of it so that if something does happen to break, there's no damage there inside the cab.
And the Stormer digging in will lay up short of the 300-foot mark, 297 and 18. A good solid effort, though, good enough for the top 3 as it stands right now.
Our next competitor, Don Odell, driving the Dirt Donkey, part of that team with Kenny Lucas and the Fantasy Machine, and Terry had a chance to catch up with her earlier.
Don Odell is going to be hopping behind the wheel tonight of the Dirt Donkey. She's been away for a couple of years. What was she doing? Well, she was busy having a baby. Matter of fact, she forgot a few things because when she showed up today, she couldn't even remember how to start the truck. I love that. But she says she's good to go tonight.
Well, in her defense, Dawn is used to driving the fantasy truck, and it is set up a little bit different than the Dirt Donkey machine. But still, after being gone for 18 months to 2 years, there are a few new things that the team has implemented, so she had to learn those all over again.
I'm going to help her out as she jumps into the top 5 here. Her job's to drive it, not start it. Let somebody else start it. She does a good job.
Just let him push the button, man. Just let him push the button. Smooth as silk off the line and gets her right into that top 5.
Both hands up in the air for her indicates to the officials that she is off the throttle and they are clear to unhook the truck. There's a look at your top 3. We'll be right back. Alter Ego is coming up next, and this is kind of a class jumper, if you will, at the Ford Pro Pulling Nationals. Take a look at this thing. It is incredible.
And this is where we can actually put the diesel superstock trucks in with our blower four-wheel drive trucks. And so they do have a little bit of a disadvantage here, as these blower four-wheel drive trucks run a 26-inch hitch height. The diesel trucks can only run a 24-inch hitch height. While that doesn't seem like very much, that 2 inches of hitch height, though, takes about 40 feet off of a regular hook for one of these diesel trucks.
And if that one took 40 feet off, he would have safely won or led the class at this point. as he just goes 283. But it is cool to have him out here and at least give the fans a look at some of the diesel trucks in a newer category that we've been covering here recently. It's a lot of fun to watch him go at it with those superstock diesels.
And it's interesting too because the superstock diesels also have like 160-inch wheelbase, where the lower four-wheel drive trucks here only 133 inches. So the diesel trucks with a few advantages, so that hitch height reduction is just an equalizer.
Eddie Garner, our next competitor here, driving the Chaos, goes 299 and 19, and this class is getting tight.
It's just amazing the level of competition they have here when all the competitors in the class end up within 10 feet of each other at the end of the night. That is truly amazing.
That 299 good enough to get into the top 3 as it stands right now. And up next will be Mike Lane, a low down and dirty.
These guys really getting a lot of wheel speed off the line, and they want a lot of ground speed too. They want to get that sled moving as fast as they can, so once that box tops off, they've got lots of forward momentum.
Low down and dirty at 289 and 63. Not enough to get into that top 3, but again, a respectable number here. About 10 feet out of the program here tonight.
Another one of our diesel super stock trucks, it'll be Eric Stacy in the Smokin' Yum machine.
When you could hear him squeeze into that throttle, something this class is really known for, 296.09. That is a spectacular effort. The Hazley-powered machine, and he just eased into the throttle, kind of held it there for a little bit, and then went full throttle. Watch it again and listen. It is amazing how much power they make.
Great shot of those twin stacks, courtesy of our Ion camera on board, and it just shows you how much throttle control our diesel trucks have as drivers to really stay in and out of it just like that to make it happen.
We still have a couple of trucks left in the category. Stay with us and we'll finish this one up.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League has been brought to you by Ion Camera, the lightest, fastest, fully waterproof HD action camera on the market. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
Welcome back to the Ford Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. Just a couple of trucks left here in the super modified 4x4 category, and this is a super stock truck. Once again, one of the super stock diesels invading the category, trying to steal one away here.
Shane Kellogg with Gotta Have It on his farewell tour this year, a multi-time champion in the super stock diesel truck category, and he might be able to steal one away here from the super modified four-wheel drives.
Oh, so close. 394 is the leader. He's going to crack the 300-foot mark at 300.13.
The best effort so far by any of the diesel trucks invading the category, and you can see the smoke changing as Shane Kellogg in and out of the throttle. Got to be full throttle right off the line in order to break the tires loose and get the sled moving, but then as it starts to hook up, they get out of the throttle so that they don't blow the tires off and just sit there and spin, and then once they feel it hook up again, that's when they get back into the throttle.
And I've got to tell you, talk about an exciting class that the fans would get into. The rivalries between Ford, Chevy, and Dodge are one thing, but how about supercharged on methanol versus diesel and turbocharged? That would create quite the rivalry.
And you can see it all the time with the Ohio State Tractor Pullers Association, the only place where you'll see that mix of alcohol and diesel together.
Plum Crazy's the name of the truck. It's the final one in the category. And Bill Bolin gets out here and puts it up on top. 3:16 and 33. He steals the win as the last truck in the category.
Man, where did that run come from? He just comes out of nowhere. You can see nice and easy off the starting line. And then full throttle, just gets it done. Awesome job here by the Plum Crazy machine. Look at him digging into the very last at the end.
That Carlisle Tools sled transfer box topped off, and he just kept on chugging. All right, let's get it down to Terry Boyd, who's with Steve Barker, who finished in second place.
Steve Barker, we already found out he's the man who helps everybody else. He helped himself to a second place finish tonight. You really had to get it out of the hole. If you didn't get out of the hole, you were not getting down the track tonight.
Yeah, pulling's all about getting the momentum up, building speed. It was a little slick out of the hole, so it was just able to feather into it. It locked in, and we got lucky.
You ever tempted to not give away all your trade secrets to get one notch higher up here on the podium?
I don't like to think that. I mean, we work really hard at it. And, God's just blessed the business and us, and we're just thankful to be able to do what we can do. And this one's for my daughter Jordan tonight with diabetes and a diabetes pull, so we're just thrilled to be able to do it for her.
You know, that really gives it perspective, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Steve Barker builds a lot of the chassis in the class as he finds himself here in second. That's what he's talking about, helping everyone else out tonight. And, of course, a great finish. His teammate, though, Harmon Zink in the Tasmanian Devil, finished in the top 3 as well.
Well, guys, remember we talked at the top of the show how Steve Barker likes to help out, well, half the field. This is one of those guys, and you're pretty happy. It gives you a 3rd spot. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the track conditions and how you didn't have to change a thing yourself.
Well, there wasn't really nothing to do. I mean, Steve helped me on the thing, and he told me what to do with it. I did it, and he builds the motors. He's got the chassis. Can't complain.
Steve tells you to stay out in this bad weather, will you?
Oh, yeah, have to. My truck's in his trailer.
And then, of course, the final pole of the night. Bill Bolin comes out here and really puts it on the rest of the category. The Chevy at full song gets the job done and takes the hardware. Let's go down and talk to the winner.
Plum Crazy, of course, taking the win, and you guys made some pretty serious changes right before going on the track. What happened?
Well, the first pass, I felt that the sled was a little heavy, so I passed the test hook. When you get a motor that hot, you got to cool it off, so you put more fuel to it. And that's kind of what we did. We filled the tank up so it would last another run and put more fuel to it.
And you were confident that this could happen, be on the podium and win the class?
No, that I wasn't confident. You know, I was just going to give it my best shot.